it's like there is no replacement on the roster that can do the things that Bryce is doing in this. Now, maybe Gibson gets a shot, and I don't know who else is on the practice squad or other guys that are out there, but they don't have another guy quite like that. That's why they signed him.
That game on Sunday night, Baldy, what was more impressive to you? The fact that Christian McCaffrey finally, for the first time all season long, looked like the CMC of old on the ground, or the fact that they held the number one rushing offense in the NFL, the Atlanta Falcons, to less than 100 yards?
It's hard to rank that, Joe, because both were really impressive. And, McCaffrey hasn't looked like that since 2023, pick a week. So it's been 2 years since he looked like that. So that was impressive. But that is a great rushing offense. I mean, they were great last year. I mean, that offensive line outside of the right tackles, the same guys that played last year, same guys that ran for 200 yards against Buffalo the week before. And to shut Bijan down and not let him get an explosive run with minus Fred, minus Nick. I hope I don't have to even mention that anymore. I mean, it's still hard to realize Fred's not in there. But, I mean, the way that Taylor Bethune played and, D. Winters, the whole group, I mean, it was impressive what they did. I mean, I watched some of these games, and these linebackers are sitting back, and they're just catching blocks. And they're wondering why these running backs are getting 5 and 6 and 7 yards a carry. Like, the 49ers didn't play that way. They just attacked the line of scrimmage. And that's how you got to play. I mean, that's how Fred played, for 8 years. But that's how you got to play the game. You can't let these double teams and these combo blocks of these guys start moving your down linemen and all of a sudden you get picked off. And next thing you know, they're like Christian was all night long. He's on his way to the safety. Like, you let that happen, and Bijan's going to run for 150 yards.
What was it about Christian's game that was so mesmerizing? What was it? The offensive line play? Was it his vision? I loved it, just how his feet were just explosive, and he was gliding through holes, and I felt like he was finishing runs and getting to that second and third level. But for you, Brian, what was so different about this week? Why were they so good?
I thought Trent played his best game all year. I thought Trent was really good. All right, so he looked different than he's looked in any game. Now, he might question my opinion on that. It's okay. But, I mean, I thought movement-wise, I thought he was the best he's been. They lost their center, so you lose a starting center. Hennessy comes in there, he plays well. But I thought, like, if you look at that second touchdown run of McCaffrey, like, he stopped at the 4, and he powers his way into the end zone. And then the other touchdown run from the 1. I mean, honestly, the crease is 6 inches. It's a 6-inch crease, and he sees it like this, and he's right through it. So I thought his vision, Joe, to your point, was spot on. Like, I don't think he missed a cut. And I remember last year when he was struggling, I saw him in Green Bay a week after I broke him down, and he missed a big hole. And, some of these guys watch this stuff, and, they roll their eyes probably. But McCaffrey, he seeked me out, and he's like, "You were right, Baldy, man. I missed that last week." Like, he was watching it, But I can't find a play yet last week where he missed a cut, where he missed the opening. So that, and then the other point is, like, when he's literally jumping through holes, like, I feel like that's the explosive step that we haven't seen in a while.
Yeah, I'm 100% with you. I thought Shanahan adjusted for what we've seen in the last couple of years. I don't want to get too nerdy about it. You're the expert, not me. But it was less of the outside zone and more of the power football between the tackles. They even gave a stat at halftime. 60 yards between the tackles is the most that McCaffrey's had going back to 2022. And that was for a whole game. But that he had accomplished that in one half. So stylistically, did you notice something different than what Shanahan did? And should they keep doing it?
Well, they're in I formation a lot. Juice was dotting the I. He was dotting the I with Juice. And so, and just getting Kittle out there, not that he played great and, he had like pancake blocks or anything like that, but it's just something about when Juice and Kittle are working in concert together and how well they know each other on the move. And just, I think that's a comfort level, honestly, for Christian, seeing both those guys on the field for the first time all year. There was a cutback to the right, and Kittle was in motion, and he got Leonard Floyd, and I kind of hooked him or whatever, and McCaffrey saw it, and he just cut right off. And I just think sometimes you see 85 and 44 out there. There's a real comfort. I mean, I don't think that's guesswork. I mean, I just think that's a real thing.
Talking to Brian Baldinger here on the Morning Roast, Spinoni and Chasky, courtesy of River Islands. And talking about the offensive line, Matt Hennessy, what did you see from him when he filled in for Jake Brendel? And not to say that he's take over and take his role, but I mean, the offensive line continued to look good when he was out there. He was pulling McCaffrey into the end zone. They were talking about on the broadcast saying it should have been a penalty. I was like, to hell with that. If we get the tush push, we're able to pull these guys in, right, Baldy? But what did you see from Matt Hennessy taking over for Jake Brendel, who's going to be out for the next few weeks with a hamstring strain?
Well, I've known Matt. He went to Temple. So I used to go over there, and Matt Rule was the coach there when he was there, and I'd go over and watch practice, and so I've known Matt since then. And then, he was drafted by the Falcons. The irony is, he gets his shot against the Falcons, whose defensive front is really good. I mean, they got some powerful guys inside. He was left one-on-one. I always thought Matt was a try-hard guy, but he was undersized for the NFL. I mean, that's why, honestly, he moved on from Atlanta. But he's a smart kid. He understands the game. You can have real football conversations with Matt. He understands it. And he has to rely on his intelligence. And he's not a big guy, but he's got leverage. And so, you see him like he's just trying to let some of these defensive tackles walk him back as slow as possible, just giving up ground grudgingly. And so, but he's lived on quickness. That's kind of his game. He's undersized, but he's got good quickness. And so, and he understands leverage. So I thought he went in there and he played about as well as I've seen Matt play, to be honest with you, in that game last week.
Yeah, I think we were all pleasantly surprised. It's 3rd and 13, 3rd and 14. They're up 13-10. It's late in the game. They're in the middle of a 5.5-minute drive, and you have a pass play where Kittle's coming across the middle, and he kind of fills this little area in the middle of the field. And Mac just ever so looks at him with the face mask and brings the linebacker over and then rips a perfect throw to CMC that gets him a first down. I thought that was the play of the game for Mac Jones. How well did he play in this game, Baldy?
Well, you're describing it right. Caden Ellis was a linebacker that literally boxed. He was looking to box Kittle. And as soon as Mac Jones saw Caden Ellis turn to see the crosser of Kittle coming in the middle, he ripped it. So like that, I mean, honestly, I don't know that there's a stopwatch that can time the amount, how quickly you make that decision. Like it's lickety split. It's, and so he reads, he's reading. I mean, he's the hook curl player right there, in that zone. And as soon as he sees Caden Ellis, turn to box Kittle, he goes right to McCaffrey. And honestly, that throw, it's a dangerous throw if it's not in the right spot. You got a safety driving on it. You got a corner behind it right there. Ellis is going to react to the ball in the air. Like it's going to be a collision right there. And it was right at the 4-yard line. But I totally agree. I mean, that's 3rd down, as you're saying, Joe. And, all Atlanta's trying to do with 3 minutes to go in the game is hold them to a field goal and then give Penix one more shot to go win the game with a touchdown.
Baldy, what a game from Bryce Huff. I mean, this guy was flying all over the place. The speed is real. They were trying to chip him. They were trying to double block him. Wasn't working. He was getting to Penix and making him uncomfortable. But then, as is the case for a lot of the Niners games, on a Monday, we get the news he's going to be out for a couple weeks due to a hamstring strain. I know, the hits keep coming. What did you see from Bryce Huff, and how big of a loss, obviously, is that for the next couple weeks?
Well, he's their best pass rusher. And I got to admit, like I texted my friend in Philly. He was signed as a free agent for $51 million by the Eagles last year. And they just didn't know how to use him. It didn't fit their system of what Vic Fangio likes. So it wasn't a knock on Bryce. They're just asking him to drop into coverage and play outside linebacker. He is a pass rusher. Now, he's playing a little bit more than that. But first of all, Saleh found him. Saleh developed him in New York. He was trying to build his, an 8-man front up in New York with 8 guys. Like, honestly, he just wanted 8 Barracudas up there that just got after the quarterback. And he was one of them. And he got to 10 sacks 2 years ago. But I think Saleh loves him. I think he gets confidence from knowing how Saleh's going to use him and move him around. But, they knew who he was. I mean, they were chipping him and doubling him and putting guys on him. He was still winning. But that the one hit on Penix, like I'm surprised he got up like he did. I thought he might have fractured some ribs as hard as he hit him because he's looking, he's left-handed, he's looking the other way, and Huff is coming to his backside. That's a big loss, though. They don't have anybody else because I was just texting somebody about Get-Off. They was asking about Aiden Hutchinson last night, and I'm like, you can't win the 100-meter dash if you don't have a great takeoff. Like his takeoff it's just like, there's guys in Denver. There's a couple guys in this league. They're at the top of the charts, and I don't follow his metrics. I can just see it. But he's got an unbelievable takeoff, and he really times the snap, and he really puts the tackles in a bind because he's on him so quickly. No matter unless you're Lane Johnson or Trent, like most of these guys are going to struggle against him.
I mean, how do they fill this void? Like there was a play before the end of half, and there's 17 seconds to go. Penix takes a shotgun snap. Huff stunts around the whole formation and then forces Penix to throw a lollipop ball out of bounds that lands right with 10 seconds. They run a 10-second runoff because of the illegal grounding, and they don't get a field goal attempt. Like that's a lost play that takes points off the board. Huff made that whole play. How do they find a way to offset this loss?
And, and honestly, that play, he's the left end on that play, Joe, that you're describing. And he basically is just an instinct. Like he came around, it wasn't taught, but he saw Penix, his eyes, and he just instinctively came around and then had that burst to him. He got his hands up and, forced the intentional grounding, got him out of field goal range. So, I mean, but, it's like Nick, it's like Fred, like there is no replacement on the roster that can do the things that Bryce is doing in this. Now, maybe Gibson gets a shot, and I don't know who else is on the practice squad or other guys that are out there. Honestly, I think Ukuanu, I probably screwing up his name.
Okuanu.
Like he played really good, but he doesn't have that type of a takeoff.
No, he's not a bend guy. He's a power bull rush guy.
Yeah, he's a power. Yeah, he's power. But they don't have another guy quite like that. That's why they signed him. Honestly, I'm sure Saleh went to bat for him even after the disappointment in Philadelphia, which I don't even know if he had a sack last year. But they didn't use him right. He looked out of place. But this is the perfect, front for him. Now now to Saleh's credit, like he went deep in the bag on some pressures the other day that we haven't seen from any defensive coordinator since Saleh left. And he didn't really do some of the stuff in New York either. But he had some good pressures, some overload pressures, some free hitters coming at Penix. Like they did a pretty good job of creating pass rush. Now you're going to be vulnerable on the back end if you don't get home on some of this stuff. But I thought they affected Penix pretty good.